Hi, thank you and welcome to my channel. My name is Seyi Obasi, and today I want to talk about how you can get a visit visa to Canada, mistakes that you could make and mistakes that you can avoid. That is common mistakes that you could make with your visit visa and how you can avoid them. I noticed that visit visas have become very popular, and that's because Canada has started granting visit visas easily. As long as you don't have a criminal background, it's easy for you to get your visit visa. And on top of that, Canada has also given out a temporary policy that says that if you're in Canada on a visit visa, you can actually have the opportunity to apply for a work permit if you can get a job offer and an LMIA for that job. I mean, lots of people are taking advantage of this to apply for visit visas. But in as much as Canada is granting visas, there are a lot of people who are also getting their visit visas refused for common, simple mistakes that they are making. So we're going to be addressing that in this video. The first thing is, what do you need for a visit visa? So a lot of people reach out to me and say, Seyi, send me an invitation letter. I want to come and visit. And I say, you don't need an invitation letter to come and visit. Yes, if you have someone in Canada who can actually send you an invitation letter, that is great. But even if you don't have anyone to send you an invitation letter, you can still come to visit as long as you have a purpose for visit. Why are you coming to visit? You need to write an explanation letter that tells the visa officer why you're coming to visit. Yeah, so you don't need an invitation letter. Some of the things that you need to provide that can get your visit visa refused is your proof of funds. Yeah, so you're coming to visit Canada, you probably stay in a hotel, you would need to eat, you need to book your flight to and fro, you need to show the visa officer that you have enough money to visit Canada. So this money is your proof of funds to cover the cost of traveling to Canada, and also it shows that you have enough money when you return back home after your visit. So if your documents show that you don't have enough money, your visit visa could be refused. The second thing is strong home ties. Don't forget that this is a visit visa and you want to prove to the visa officer that after my temporary stay in Canada, I'm going to return back home. Let me chip in and say that you can only stay in Canada for a maximum of 6 months on a visit visa. So proof of ties are things like you have a business back home, you have a job back home, you have family back home, you have associations back home. All of these things show the visa officer that there are strong enough ties back home that you would need to go back to after your visit in Canada. So for jobs, you can show your employment letter, a reference letter from your employer, you can show your pay slips. If you have a business, your CAC documents or company registration documents from your country, you can show invoices as well as a bank statement from your customers that you have been doing business with. If it has to do with family, you show the identification documents and birth certificates of your family members to show that they're your family members, and then proof of whatever association you belong to that is going to pull you back home. If a visa officer sees that your ties are not as strong back home as they're supposed to be, they might refuse your visa. Another thing is having family ties in Canada that are stronger than family ties back home. Now, this normally should not have been a problem, but a lot of visa officers might have a problem if you have a lot more family ties in Canada than you have back home. So if all your siblings are in Canada and now you're applying to come to Canada and you show that all your siblings are in Canada and you have nobody back home, it might be a problem. A visa officer might think that, oh, you have too much ties in Canada and you will not be willing to go back to your country. So this is where you have to show other family members that you have and other things that are ties, and point it out that even though you seem to have stronger ties in Canada in terms of family ties, you also have this family back home, as well as this, all of the things that I've mentioned that will compel you to return home after your visit. One other thing I must point out is your length of stay, length of proposed stay in Canada. So for example, if you say you're coming for a wedding or you're coming for someone's graduation, yeah, and you say that you're going to stay in Canada for 5 months, a visa officer might wonder, if you're just coming for graduation, why 5 months? Yeah, so saying that you're going to come to Canada for that length of time that is not proportionate to what you're coming to do in Canada, that is your purpose of visit, it might be a red flag in the eyes of the visa officer. So try and be objective and try and be realistic in the number of days or the time that you say you want to spend in Canada. For example, if you're coming for graduation, A couple of weeks is fine for that, yeah? It's best to use days or weeks rather than months. So if you're coming for graduation or someone is doing a wedding, I would advise that you put something like what? 15 days, 15 to 30 days. I think that's enough time for you to be able to attend the graduation or the wedding and then have time for some sightseeing before you return home. Don't forget that if you have a business or you have a job back home, you don't want to be in Canada for 5 months while your job or business back home is suffering, yeah? So that length of stay can be something, and it is something that a lot of people overlook, and they don't know that they are going to be refused because of length of stay, looking so unrealistic to the visa officer. And when it comes to travel history is not a requirement to get a visit visa to Canada. It's not a requirement for any visa, but if you do have travel history, don't forget to mention it in your SOP. Also put any visa stamps that you have in your passport when you're uploading your passport. So there's a place where you upload your international passport. I would advise you that you merge any visas that you have. So if you've had a visa in the past or you had a USA visa, you've traveled before, make sure that you're including all of that, so the visa officer sees that you have travel history, you have traveled before to a first world country, and you came back, you didn't overstay your visa. I think that is a positive thing for your visa application. But no matter what you are providing in your visa application, please avoid misrepresentation, because as soon as a visa officer recognizes a false information, the entire credibility of your whole application falls off, yeah? So they will find it difficult to believe anything that you're saying. So where there can be misrepresentation is, have you been refused visa or entry to any other country before? Please, if you have been refused visa or entry, or you were deported from any country, please try and put yes, yeah? Explain that, oh, I was refused visa, I applied for US visa in so year, I was refused. You don't even need to go into the details, but just make sure that in case they are going to check, because they share information with some countries like the USA, the UK, Australia, and who knows, some other European countries. If they check and you were refused and you didn't mention it, then that might be a problem. They can just refuse your visa because the credibility of the entire application is affected, or some can give you a ban to Canada. So you will be banned for 5 years and you cannot apply to Canada again. Another one is talking about medicals, right? Yeah, so they will ask you if you've had any medical issue. If you have, mention that you have. And if you have any criminal background, that means you have a criminal record somewhere that they can actually find, where they ask you, please say that you have and give the details. It is when you tell a lie that it becomes a problem. If you tell them the truth and you explain the details of it, you just give them the information, then it is not an issue. But telling a lie is an issue. Okay, let me talk about your host family. For example, if you actually got an invitation letter from someone, maybe your daughter, your child, or your sister, or a friend has invited you, and they said that you will be staying at their place, or maybe they even said that they will be providing living expenses for you, so they'll be feeding you and all, you now have to make sure that you are submitting the immigration status documents of your host. So they are invitation letter, immigration status, bank statements, employment documents, and all of that. If you don't submit all of that, then the credibility of your host is affected. So if you have a friend that's invited you, but they are not willing to give you all those documents, just to go and book a hotel and say that you will stay in a hotel, don't forget to also put your itinerary, yeah? Make sure you put your itinerary. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to visit Niagara Falls from this date to this date. From this date to this date is the graduation. From this date to this date. Make it clear. Make the visa officer's job as simple as possible. Don't make them to be scrambling here and there. Oh, where is this document? Give them, all the documents. So make sure your employment documents, your work documents, your business documents, your family pictures, family identities to show that you have family ties back home, proof of funds, so your bank statement, clear blank statement. Make sure it's not blurry, because if it's blurry, a visa officer will say, I don't know, I didn't see what's this, and they will refuse you. Make sure it's not blurry. And any other proof of funds or ties, documents that show your ties back home, just include all of that, yeah? Make it as clear as possible, make it as detailed as possible, and write a statement of purpose or a letter of explanation telling them why you are coming to Canada, why they should issue a visa, and why you're going to go back to your country after your visa or after your stay in Canada, or whatever it is your purpose of visiting Canada is over. Emphasize that you have no intention of staying beyond your visit. Please emphasize that you plan to go back to your country, because you're going to go back to your life and all of that. You're not planning to stay back in Canada on your visit visa. Trust me, if you do all of these things that I've said, you avoid these mistakes, you provide this information, provide documents to support this information, your visit visa to Canada will be approved and you'll be on your way to Canada to visit. If you got value from this video, don't forget to like and share it. Let as many people that need to see this information actually get to see it. If you have a question or a comment, leave it in the comment section. I am sure to, read your comments and respond to you. And if you want to get more information, don't forget to go to the cic.gc.ca, which is the Canada government immigration website, and you can get a lot more information about visiting Canada. I hope this was useful to you. Don't forget to like and share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next one.